Good evening, RPG Valkyries fans and fans of the free enterprise Final Fantasy IV randomizer. You all know what the marathon's here for. Tonight, though, we do have a 2v2 match, one of my personal favorite styles of free enterprise. I'm Invenerable. On commentary with me tonight is Penguinator.
Hello, hello.
We do have a new host for this section. I'll leave that to you yourself right quick.
Hello, I'm Ploff27. I'll be hosting and reading donations during this.
And of course, we do have J Money Motos helping us out with tracking tonight. You do have the Sylvan Spelunkers on the left side of your screen, Sylverfyre in the top left, Demerine in the bottom left, versus No Cane in the World. That is Sawneyrath in the top right, and UnknownAvailability in the bottom right. Penguinator, you want to talk a little bit about what makes 2v2 a little different from most randomizer runs?
Sure. So, as 2v2 mentions, there are two teams of two. They'll each be running their own instance of the seed, but they're all on the same seed and they get to share information. So, each team is in their own voice chat together. And so, typically, we'll see these runners kind of split up the map and explore different areas and just together try to figure out where they end up needing to go in order to find their crystal.
Exactly. We play with pretty much every possible key item spot that the developer board face could throw into a seed. Places in the vanilla game where you find key items, the summon quests and boss fights, lunar bosses, and then finally, all the trap chests. So there are tons of places where our actual key items required to beat the game can be found, but luckily, you don't have to go it alone. And the communication between teammates, hopefully we'll get to see some really good instances of it during the run. You'll see someone make a quick turnaround to go for something their teammate just found, especially at the end when we're finally reaching time to actually close things out. Part of the donation incentives for this race were to name the 5 characters that our racers will take to the Zeromus fight. One of the current features does allow you to put names in before the start, but of course we don't know what the final party composition will be, so you will see our racers make another to the naming way, our little rabbity friend, to make sure that all your incentives are being met. And my personal favorite that I'm looking forward to is that final Z Sprite incentive. I mean, Scala, please, right?
So it looks like we're just waiting for the racers to finish naming their characters, and then we should get started in just a second.
And I believe we are just about to get started. Our gatekeeper, our restreamer, Scala Kitty, has departed her registration of the race, and we should be seeing how we're starting out soon. I do like that Edward start.
So Edward is typically not considered the strongest character. He's got somewhat limited in terms of what weapons he can use. However, there's also a Fusoya that is given to them at the start, and Fusoya, on the other hand, is one of the strongest characters in the game.
Yeah, of course, there is a flag in play that will nerf his power. He's not going to start with his full spell suite like he does in the vanilla playthrough. He will, however, gain 3 spells plus 100 HP for every boss you knock off. One of the kind of side effects of 2v2, though, is because you are splitting everything up, your Fu is not getting quite that power level accelerated as you would if you were doing a solo run. So it could be interesting to see if someone even ends up ditching him just because he's not growing in strength quickly enough.
Yeah, so right away we're seeing, I guess this is Demerine in the bottom left, going to Damcyan. Damcyan's a nice starting place to pick up some treasure chests. This is the T4 setting, so we do have very powerful loot. And already we saw a Crystal Sword and a Bahamut Summon, which are...
And you can already see the split between the teams. Sylverfyre checking out Barren Town, another great source of loot. Many items just here ripe for the taking. UA just here ripe for the taking. And saw out Kai typo, both seeing a vanilla rosa in the bed if we find the sand ruby, and checking the item shops. This uses the S2 level, which means that you're not going to find anything too strong in shops, but you're going to find a lot of items with a lot of really great utility, like these Cure 2s and Silk Webs that Sylve's picking up.
So the beginning of the game here tends to be a lot of kind of gearing up, get ready to fight the bosses that you need to take on. You can, as we mentioned, loot, you can buy items in shops once you have a few items to sell, and you can also try to pick up some characters. So you can head up to Mount Hobbs, there's the one character up there behind the boss. Demerine did, I didn't actually see who it was, looks like she back.
Yeah, it was Tella, which a lot of people really dislike him. He does have some really good utility. It can be great for anchoring, and since we know there's a crystal sword in play, we're already kind of incentivized to go up ordeals to turn any Dark Knight Cecils out there into paladins, and of course that does unlock Tella's full spell suite as well.
And so now Demerine is headed into Antlion Cave, so there's more looting to be done there, more items to pick up in chests, and there's also a fairly easy boss to fight there, and potentially a key item behind that.
Yeah, even with just Fu at base power and Edward as weak as he is, it's very rare that there's a boss here that will give you trouble at this point. So very quick key item check, and more importantly, will unlock another few spells for Fu and bump those HP totals up a little bit more.
And then on the other side, it looks like Sonny and UA are kind of splitting up, looting and doing some shopping, seeing what they can find for their characters.
Yeah, it's very convenient if you have a teammate and you can kind of split up both those item checks and those shop checks. If you think, well, okay, I've run into Wyvern, I've run into Golbez, I really need Starvels. Well, you don't have to go check all the shops if your teammates already found them for you. You just say, hey, where were those? And you're good to go. And the Antlion boss is just a karate man. That is, of course, the Yang fight that you would deal with in Baron Inn. Still has the same script. He'll punch, he'll kick, he'll punch, he'll kick, and won't do much damage at this spot at all, even to a relatively unequipped Edward at this point.
Actually, 200 damage from the bow and arrows. Pretty impressive for Edward early on. Yeah, it's not too scary a boss. She'll definitely get through that fairly quickly.
Sylverfyre also wrapping up looting Damcian, even though we already knew the items there, and Sylv knew the items there because Demerine undoubtedly told her teammate. Still, Crystal Sword, Bahamut Summon, great finds for down the road.
Oh, and now we see Sylverfyre actually going to the Mist Cave. It looks like they want to take on a boss, probably just to power up their Fusoya. There's not a whole lot of experience there, nor does it give any key item.
And with this being the Calbrena fight, you won't even get the full experience from the spot, because you're hopefully not fighting the big doll. Getting Lightning 2, though, definitely gives a little bit of extra oomph to the Lunarian's spell damage.
And on Sonny's side, we see he has opted to pick up the Tella, so he's fighting those Dark Imps. Not too scary a fight. They are vulnerable to various status effects, and just in general are not all that strong.
Yeah, we did see Edward's harp. Sonny did not outfit Edward with a mighty bow and some better arrows, but put one to sleep by just playing some sweet, sweet tunes. Edward's actually having all kinds of utility already.
On UA's screen, we see an Asura fight. I think that's in the Fabul Castle. And it looks like he picked up a Stardust Rod somewhere, which is the most powerful Black Mage Rod. So he has Fusoya use that, and you can also activate it in order to use the Stardust spell, which is very strong early on.
Oh, and even though they share the same background, that was actually the Baron Inn fight. But this is an interesting thing. UA actually retreated from that fight. Valvalus is typically very difficult to beat if you don't have a good source of melee damage, or if you don't have a cane to break her spin. However, correct me if I'm wrong, Penguinator, I think that karate spot in the Baron Inn is one of the few spots where even her tornado form does not give her magic defense. So I think UA would have actually been fine there.
I think you're right, but that's something I don't personally know that well, so I don't blame UA if he doesn't realize that.
Yeah, I still remember when we first started realizing that not every spot Val occupies has that magic defense. It's like, well, I guess I'll try to throw a spell before she starts her spin, and then it hits her anyway, and all of a sudden your entire world just crumbles.
So UA opting instead to also fight that Mist boss, and also he's going to loot out the Mist Cave, so he might find something in there that's a big swing, because probably the other team won't bother checking that Mist Cave. It's a bit of an unusual location.
Yeah, there's only 4 chests in there, and they are a little bit spaced out. You're not going to go there for the sake of other key items or anything like that. But of course, this is T4. You can find an adamant armor in literally any treasure spot in the game, and that alone just gives you so much power. You know, one of the rarest pieces of gear that you probably never found in the vanilla game. Here can just be anywhere, plus 15 all your stats, pretty much physical immunity to anything on Earth, and elemental resistances. What more could you ask for?
Yeah, absolutely. And in T4, that one chest, if you find the right one, can be huge.
On the other hand, sometimes you just get a drain spear. Womp womp.
Alright, looks like Demerine is taking on the Fabul Gauntlet. Looks like it is the 4 Fiends fight.
Shouldn't be too hard here. Of course, with it being the Fiends fight, this is actually split into 2 different monsters in the code. Both Mylon and Rubicante count as one. Then there's an HP refill and a transformation for the Kenatsu and Valvulus part. So if you do enough damage in one big hit, you don't even have to deal with the second half of the fight.
So interestingly, both Sylverfyre and Demerine are taking on the Fabul Gauntlet. I guess they're hoping to get something valuable there.
Well, another thing too is, again, with every one of our racers having that starting foo, sometimes it is worth it to double down on boss fights, even though you're covering the same ground, just because if one of you does have to go to the moon, we can find moon access before we find underground access. Then our racers, everyone on every team, will want as many spells and as many HP on that sage as possible.
And it is the Earth Crystal for the Fabul Gauntlet. So potentially they could take on the Tower of Zot. Those bosses are kind of hard at this point, though.
One of the nice things about that, of course, is this will give them access to the private treasury in the Troya Castle. The public one, you can hop in and get about 9 items right off the bat on any of these seeds. And I think at least one racer from each team did. But now there's another, 18, 20, something like that. And again, T4
Something
can
like
be the
that.
loot that makes the difference.
So we've yet to see any of these runners head to the Eblon Castle. There are 3 trap chests in there, which can contain key items potentially, but they're not free. You do have to fight the monsters in there, and they can be kind of scary.
Yeah, and that's another reason why you'll see people shopping. I know that I believe Knight in the chat called out that we saw Hourglass 2s for sale in Mysidia. That's another one of the Japanese items you won't see in the vanilla game, but vanilla US version, but you will see a lot in Free Enterprise. Cast stop on enemy targets with an absolutely ridiculously long freeze time. Very useful, but your enemies will still probably get their first round attacks off, and I don't think Edward will be surviving those at this point.
See, so Silverfyre and Demerine doing a little more shopping. It'll be interesting to see where they head next. They do have Mount Ordeals as an option. That's still unexplored, and the Baron Inn, I think, hasn't been finished yet.
So, we do know that that Val at Baron Inn will cause a lot of racers to have a little bit of pause. They'll see her think, oh no, let me have an actual melee character. Any one of our racers who is, enterprising enough to just go for it, should be able to get a little bit of extra, another key item, another character for their team, and possibly unlock the way forward. Right now, we still just have those core overworld locations plus Tower of Zot open. We don't have a crystal to take us to the moon. We don't have a magma key or a hook to get underground. So we still really don't know how this seed is going to shake out.
We see UA make the rare Chocobo Forest check. There's one little treasure chest in there. It's usually a carrot. didn't actually turn out to be much, just a middle sword, but that could have been a nice little find if it turned out to be something good.
Demerine taking a go at the Baron Inn.
So we do see UA headed up Mount Ordeals now, while Sani does the Fabul Gauntlet. And so we'll see what we end up finding on top of Ordeals. There is a potential key item there, and he'll also power up his Tela.
And let's see, Demerine, do you have the courage to take down? Trying to get that spell off before the tornado, but just wait for it. Let's see if this is one of those spots. Oh yeah, no magic defense there. That should be the clue that lets Demi just go ahead and, yeah, there's that Ice 3. We're going to get through here. Easy peasy at this point.
Looks like on UA's side it is the Fabul Gauntlet in its entirety at Mylon 1 spot. Which is not something you really want to see. It's not too scary, especially with that Stardust Rod able to pretty much one-shot each wave. But it will take a while. There are 6 waves of enemies to get through.
One of the rudest fights in the game just because of how long it takes, but it could have been worse. Could have gotten it in the back attack spot right across the bridge.
And Demerine finishes up the Baron Inn fight, rewarded with a Rydia and an Artemis bow. So maybe not necessarily what she was hoping for, but the Rydia will help out a bit with that Bahamut summon. That's one of the strongest spells in the game. And the Artemis bow will be a pretty good damage source, perhaps for Edward, until we find something a bit better.
And Sylverfyre finding that Sand Ruby. It's not actually progression, but it's still pretty nice. We do get to add Rosa to the team from the Kaipo bed, a legitimate best white mage in the game, undoubtedly. And they are wasting no time, flying right over to Kaipo, gonna bump this team up a notch with Rosa Bay, and then get back on into clearing that castle.
Right,
UA
so
picking up his Ice 3 on Fu, going to be getting a lot of good damage out of his black magic now.
Looks like Demerine is also heading to Eblon Castle, so I guess looking to put off Ordeals just a little bit and split up the Eblon Castle chest with Sylverfyre, or perhaps she also wants her Rose as well.
I mean, white mages sticking together, undoubtedly.
And this second boss on Ordeals is Golbez himself.
Oh,
So, it's two of the most annoying bosses you can have up there.
This is actually even funnier because this is it's actually kind of good for UA that he did not pick up that third character in the Baron Inn earlier, didn't pick up Tela on Hobbs, because the Shadow Dragon will only eat your party down to 2 characters. If you only have 2 characters, well, you're guaranteed your Fu will live. The question is, are you going to be able to get a Starvel off in time? Are you going to be able to reflect these spells back at Golbez?
I think with the Fusoya he'll be okay. Fusoya's got pretty high magic defenses with his starting equipment.
Well, you say that. Oh, insult to injury. The virus leaving him with 5 HP just to tick out before he even gets the spell off. Golbez, so rude. So rude. Although I do believe, since these are the World Series flags, the B flag is still active. B flag meaning boss randomization, but also there's safety checks in place. Golbez cannot gate your only path to the underworld, I believe. There are both ways in which key items can be gated. We mentioned there's the exclamation point at the end of that string earlier, which means you may have to go to the moon before going underground. But I think there are still boss restrictions in place. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
I think that's right. All right, so we do see UA manage to get an Ice 3 off and finish off Golbez. So he'll be picking up a key item in just a second. His partner, Sawneyrath, is fighting the Flame Dog in Tower of Zot, so this is also Trap Chest. So let's see what he gets from that.
did not look like a key item. It went very fast on my screen. I think that was only like a silver shield, perhaps?
Looked like silver gauntlet.
Oh, gotcha. Thank you. Demerine using one of my favorite tricks, casting Size on the Mad Ogres. They may still be angry, but they are now not going to be punching for nearly as much damage. And Eddie showing his value there. I'm guessing that is either an Elven Bow or some Mute Arrows or Charm Arrows, which will do quadruple damage to the Mage and or Giant types.
We see UA pick up the tower key at the top of Ordeals. So once they get underground, that will allow him to access an additional key item spot in the Tower of Babel.
Of course, the real prize here, 9 extra spells for Fu by doing all these boss fights, changing all the Dark Knight Cecils into Paladins, and we've already seen 1 Crystal Sword. So if we can find ourselves, the hero of the story, we're going to have so much DPS on the table.
And Sani, continuing up Zot, has found the D-Lunars at the Mega Sister spot. And it's actually not too bad a fight to find here. Mages work fairly well here, and they are vulnerable to curative spells as well. Should he choose to do that with Tella or tossing cure items.
Yeah, I still remember when I first started playing Free Enterprise, and I didn't remember the D-Lunar script from, my childhood. I didn't even really understand scripts at all in Final Fantasy IV. And you take a swing at them with your sword, and all of a sudden, it's reflected viruses, high-powered, non-stop. So Sunny definitely are showing that he knows how this boss operates. Spells only, please. I am not hitting you at all. Sylverfyre did loot the private treasury and found a couple of good ninja swords, but I didn't see any of the real big prizes. Again, adamant armor is what you definitely want to see at this point.
It looked like Demerine did finish up the Ebline Castle, so no progression items found there. I believe she did also pick up her Sand Ruby, so she could pick up Rosa as well.
Yeah, at this point, it seems that our only way forward must be through this Earth Crystal. We've seen both of the optional boss checks in the overworld, so we know Mist Dragon's not hiding at either of them. We've not seen a Darkness Crystal, a Hook, or a Magma Key. So it appears to either be in here or through a chain behind whatever this item is. Sani should be giving us our first look at a way forward, so keep your eyes on that top right screen after this next boss fight.
And yeah, so you also get 2 characters at the top of Zot. Looks like this time it is Sid, and I think that was Porum as well. So Sid's kind of nice. He's a fairly strong damage dealer early on. Porum won't be all that useful right now. She's a bit redundant with Fusoy and Tella already there as a white mage.
Absolutely, and if anyone on team No Cane in the World does go visit Evelyn Castle and finds that Sand Ruby, regrettably, Rosa is just pretty much a flat-out upgrade over Porum in this game. Rydia and Palom, although they're both black mages, each have kind of alternate uses depending on your flag set and how easily you find summons, like that Bahamut one everyone's still trucking around. But the Porum Rosa swap is kind of just, if you can do it, you're doing it.
Alright, so Antlion is the second boss in Zot. Another one that actually mages work pretty well for, so it's good that he has his Fusoy able to take that on.
Yeah, even just having, let's see, 900 HP on that Fu means that he's fought 4 bosses. That was enough, of course, to get at Ice 3 unlocked, and that's pretty much all you need to clean up the overworld. Very nice. Scala pointing out in the chat that we have apparently gotten very fortunate. One of the new flags that came out with version 0.3 of Free Enterprise is the Fab flag. We're not changing our sprites, to be completely unrecognizable, but Scala's given everyone a wonderful wardrobe to select from, and everyone so far decided to dress up for you all tonight.
Alright, Alright, so Sonny finished taking down that antlion. We'll see in just a second what the item is.
So at this point, it can be anything that furthers a chain of item dives in the overworld, but we're hoping to see the seed blow wide open now. What do we get? Oh, that's so nice and so rude.
So it is a darkness crystal, so that means they do have to go onto the moon where the enemies are tough, the bosses are tougher, and progression is gated.
And again, I don't think we've seen a single adamant armor. I did see Demerine holding a crystal ring in her inventory, one of the few items that these party members can equip that gives dragon defense if our passage happens to be gated behind certain trap chests in the lunar subterranean. There are a few easier fights we can take care of as well at this point, especially with hourglasses. More than a few trap chests on the moon that are vulnerable to them, and maybe we get a lucky boss fight as well.
So we're going to have our runners kind of covering scene ground for a little bit. Silver's probably going to head up, or sorry, Sonny's going to head up to the moon and Silver shortly after. It's probably actually a good time for donations as they catch up.
All right. Well, we have a $10 donation from Moonblaze Wolf who says, "Good luck to everyone participating in RPG Limit Break." Yes, indeed, we are raising money to send all the RPG Valkyries to RPG Limit Break. We are also collecting money from bits and subs, which will be going to Take This, which is a charity that we're partnered with to help provide better resources at gaming events. I would also just like to quickly take this opportunity to plug an upcoming incentive. We have the good ending incentive for Sailor Moon Another Story coming up right after this. Currently, that is at 0 of $100, and you have until the end of this run to get that met. So if you want to see the good ending for Sailor Moon, I highly recommend you donate now.
Thank you so much, Ploff. Appreciate that. I'm looking forward to watching the Sailor Moon run tonight, at least as late as I can stay up for it. Should be a really fun run coming in. And Sawny is finally flying to the moon. Moon, of course, does have another shop check we can make. The Hummingways operate one in their cave, and we can get another character by going straight to the Crystal Palace. So should hopefully give him a few more options to decide how he wants to tackle the Bahamut Lagoon, around here.
I don't believe Sonny has actually done ordeals yet, so his Tela is not all that useful. So we may see Tela replaced with the new character.
Now you say that, but what's the new character be Dark Knight Cecil?
In that case, I would guess he turns around and finishes up ordeals because he's got a crystal sword sitting around. That's the strongest weapon in the game.
Well, he does get young. Very good endgame character for certain. A little rough around the edges early on just because of how much level compared to equipment. Like you said, though, he does ditch Tela for him. And instead of diving right into the lunar subterranean, gonna come over here and check out what we affectionately call the lunar hairdryer's chest. You'll know why once you get a look at them if you've not actually seen this game before. Easier fight, should be able to handle this by popping an hourglass and then just using some of those powerful spells.
Finds the chest right away. And there we go with the hourglasses. On the other side, we do have Silver finishing up Zot. So should be headed to the moon shortly, and Demerine is finishing up ordeals. So most likely she will also head up Zot to catch up to Silver.
Absolutely, because at this point, the Sylvan Spelunkers, I believe, have covered the full overworld, checked every spot available, and with that Darkness Crystal, there's only one way forward. Royal Blue Wizard asking in chat, are the trap chest locations randomized? They are. There's actually a flag that you can choose. If you want them to be in their vanilla locations, you can. Most of the time, though, we go ahead and shuffle those wherever they may fall. But they will be within at least the same dungeon that they're found in the vanilla game.
Yeah, so this chest with the hair dryers can be in one of the 3 chests in that little lunar subterranean room, or lunar path rather.
And of course, one of the quality of life improvements for Free Enterprise allows the big whale to land pretty much anywhere on the moon. You don't have to worry about finding level ground and then walking through the lunar path. Just one of those things where we want to go fast. Don't make me walk through 2 caves unnecessarily. But of
You may
course,
have
don't
noticed,
forget. Go ahead.
You may have noticed Sonny using some lice on the enemy blow dryers, as we call them, as they were dying. So that's actually making use of a glitch from vanilla Final Fantasy IV. If you use the life on a dead enemy, it effectively reses it and then it instantly dies again. So you get double the experience for each enemy that you can do that for.
And it looks like, in spite of the seeming cruelty with the darkness crystal gaining progress, Scala didn't roll us too cruel a seed tonight. Hair dryers have the magma key. The entire underground back on Earth is available now. We don't have to stay up here completely punching out of our weight class. There's a lot of places to check underground now if our racers decide to go back down to Earth.
It'll be interesting if any of these players decide to keep going on the moon. It's going to be pretty tough with this party, but if you find the right boss, find the right strats, you can definitely make some progress, pick up some experience, and keep going from there.
Mm-hmm. And also, depending on the gear they have, again, we do have hourglasses. We know sirens were for sale back on Earth. It looks like Sonny's actually going to go here into Cave Bahamut. On floors 2 and 3, you can use the sirens to summon a ridiculously great grind fight. 2 gold dragons, base amount 60,000 XP. You can use that life glitch that Penguinator described to make it 90,000 in a heartbeat. And they give a ton of cash too, and we still have 4 shops back on Earth we've not been able to access yet.
The other nice thing about Bahamut Cave, of course, that it always has value. The other thing is that you can run down quickly and see the boss. The sprite is visible as opposed to the other moon bosses. And so if it turns out to be something he thinks he can take care of, he may just run for that right away.
Absolutely. So if it's something that, you can just dive headlong into, we'll probably see that. If not, we may see a grind and then an exit. Because I know that one of the trap chests our racers dealt with in Castle Eblin had Artemis arrows, a high-powered damage-dealing weapon that does quad damage to dragons, and Sonny nopes right out. You want to go into a little detail of why that blue turtle man is so terrifying?
So that boss is Kignazel, and the main attack it uses is a big wave, which does damage based on its own HP. At that particular spot, the boss will have a 35,000 hit points. So those waves are going to hit for way more than Sonny can survive through.
Yeah, I believe it's current HP divided by 20, so no one on this team is ready to deal with that yet.
If you are fast enough with your lightning spells, you can cancel the wave. But at that spot, it's going to be pretty hard with the boss being pretty fast too.
And so Sonny, not opting to grind on the moon either, thinking, the gold dragons are nice, but they're a little time-consuming, and I may not even have my final party yet. Let's go ahead, open the way underground. And Sylverfyre will also be getting their magma key here from the prokaryote-eukaryote chest, the hair dryers, and we'll have similar choices that they will have to make.
May have a time for a quick donation here if you have one.
We do. We have a $20 donation from He Who Is Pale, who says, "Love me that free Enterprise 2v2." And also we have a $71.69 donation from DJ ATC, Djacked, I'm so sorry, who says, "Incentive goes to winning team's choice. Good luck, runners."
Thank you, DJ. So I'm sure that although our racers can't hear that, they'll be very excited to get to put that towards their favorite incentives for the duration of the marathon. Very kind of you.
All right, so interesting development. Sonny actually opened up the underground with that magma key, but then decided to go back to Ordeals. I'm guessing it's because he knows the tower key is there, so he wants to pick that up and then go ahead and clear out the Tower of Babel in its entirety. Of course, his teammate UA probably told him when he saw the tower key.
Of course, that does mean that Sani will have to sit through both the Gauntlet and Golbez with a full team. Going to be very time-consuming. I wonder at this point if it wouldn't be better just say, hey, it's going to take you a while to get to the moon and get that magma key and come back down, but I'm not sitting through this if I can help it. But I may be a little more of a selfish teammate than Sani is.
Probably just depends who's calling the shots there.
You do Sylph Cave. No, you do Sylph Cave.
And so Silverfyre has picked up their magma key as well. So we'll see in a second if they decide to head underground right away or not.
Taking a nap in the well, so it looks like they intend to spend a little more time on the moon. River's asking in chat if we've seen sirens yet. I believe they were in Silvera. I know Night Dew mentioned it earlier in the chat, but I think it's a little further back than I can scroll at this point.
So Silverfyre actually headed to the Giant of Babel. So what are we waiting for in the Giant?
Well, there is one trap chest here. It's the last arm chest. It can be cheesed fairly easily if you have a Star Veil or if you know the Reflect wall spell that you can quickly throw on whoever it targets right off the bat. You'll reflect its magnet, you'll stop it, it'll just sit there while you beat it till it explodes, basically. And it won't even explode in that case.
And the Giant is also a pretty good spot for grinding on random encounters, as anyone who's familiar with the vanilla run of Final Fantasy IV is aware of. Although with the options they have here, that's probably not going to be the grind of choice. We do have Sirens, like we said, which can instantly summon the strongest random encounter of the area, and there are several spots where those are particularly efficient.
So just looking at now, our racers have pretty much the entire world available to them as long as it's not gated by the hook or, it's a specific one-off key item check like the Twin Harp, which of course we'd all love to see pop up. So we have 4 spots we can check in Fey March, 7 plus an additional 3 in Sylph Cave if we have the pan. Well, one of them you just can have anyway. You do have to go back to Fabul for it. And probably about 15 or so on the moon. So the seed is wide open at this point. It's going to really come down to a little bit of luck and a lot of execution, how our racers decide to split things up, and how effectively they take down all these fights, both trap chests and bosses.
So Sonny now taking on the Mist Dragon boss that we saw earlier, the dolls, just to power up his Fusoya. So he may be looking to potentially even do Sylph Cave. You want to have float for that usually, because the poison tiles do damage if you don't cast float on yourself.
Mm-hmm. You know who would know float? Tella. Bet you wish you'd kept him now. People in chat joking about who ends up having to do Sylph Cave, and I kind of, I'll admit, when I'm doing 2v2s, I kind of enjoy doing it, because it usually means that I do have a Tella, and I already got to do ordeals, so if that's the price I pay to end up with a crystal sword, adamant armor, paladin Cecil, just utterly destroying everything, that's the price I'll pay. I'll pay it gladly.
Ooh, and the package from the trap chest in the Giant of Babel, Silverfyre picking that up. Not the best reward. The package allows you to pick up a character from Mist, where you would usually pick up Rydia and Vanilla. However, it's very slow. You have to sit through a few cutscenes, so usually not the preferred choice there.
Of course, we have not seen the Mist Dragon yet. One of our key items, because this is no free lunch, specifically with the no free key item, NK active, we have to find the Mist Dragon, defeat it, and go visit Rydia's mom in Mist Village in order to get that key item check. And, we've seen plenty of seeds where that Mist Dragon is hiding somewhere rude. It could be one of those giant bosses that we're not going to be fighting at these levels. It could be the boss in the Kaipo Inn after you turn in the package. It can be hiding pretty much anywhere. And of course, if that's half of our crystal under these Forge the Crystal flags, Sylverfyre will be very thankful that they kept a hold of that package for now.
All right, so we see Sylverfyre back on Earth, switching over to the Enterprise airship, presumably going to head underground and start exploring the many options that are available down there.
Oh my goodness! So, well, first of all, I do like that it's the an array of white spears burning down the village. It seems holy lances. That is a duplicate foo. Penguinator, do you actually go through these fights and take this time to add a second foo to your party?
I think I would not. I can definitely see an argument for it. Foo is very strong. Second Foo dealing out spells can definitely help you kill things faster. Yeah, so for those unfamiliar with the newest version of the randomizer, we do have the option to allow character dupes. So we do get to have multiple copies of Fusoya in our party.
It's funny to see them both lying there in the grass side by side. I'm glad that Sylv had the other one as their on-screen map character when they triggered the cutscene. By the way, Sawny getting a little frisky here. In spite of going through ordeals, I guess he was actually doing ordeals to get the Foo bosses. Tower Key, not really the goal there, just wanting to power up that Foo a little further, and is making a dive into the lunar subterrane. Looks like heading down probably to B5 or so, maybe going to do some Gold Dragon grinds, maybe headed down to B7 to go ahead and do a couple of the really nice boss spots. Either way, exciting to see this play with a relatively under-leveled party. Let's see if it pays off for him.
Mm-hmm. We have the Mom Bomb hopping in to the Kaipo Inn, so not the Mist Dragon we're hoping for at the package.
What a rude fight to have here, too. This spot has so few HP, but Mom Bomb by default has an extra, 9,000 appended?
Yeah.
Of course, a nice 3 and a Bahamut, I think, will clean that up pretty handily.
So Demerine has made her way to the moon as well. Looks like she's picking up the Yang. Well, she keeps going down to the lunar core or not.
Ditching the Yang, but yeah, continuing on down. Oh, changed her mind. Oh, quick reset from Sawneyrath there. Odin fight, team's not quite ready for that one.
See if he actually tries again at any point soon. I think someone at least picked up a glass helm, so that kind of helps mitigate the physicals.
Well,
Might be
another
doable.
thing there's actually another way that Sony could pull that off. Having Edward in the party, we love to pick on Edward. There are a few boss fights where he can really shine, and the Odin fight is one of those. If he lives long enough to get his hide off, you can hide him away, wait until Odin does 2 of his Zantetsuken attacks, pop right back out at the correct moment, and use any kind of lightning-based item, a lightning bolt, a Thor Rage, a Zeus Rage, and insta-kill Odin if his sword is raised the 3rd time. Timing's a little tricky to get, but it's something that Edward can do that very few other characters can. Maybe Kain if you get your jumps timed perfectly.
Sonny decided to opt out, head next door, found the officers and the soldiers as the neighbor of Odin, And that's actually a very easy boss. They're vulnerable to stop, and so they can be killed, or they can be stopped so they don't do anything. And actually, he got the kill with, I think, a Medusa arrow, turning the officer to stone.
Demerine here, starting at the top, working her way down, did find a trap chest there. Only reward, though, an assassin's dagger. The real prize, of course, being plenty of levels for her team, or at least the ones who survived. Now, is she actually going to... No, looks like she's going to forgo chests. She wants to heal the party up, probably going down to one of those 2 low-level save points, either where Sawney's been clearing things out, or maybe even over to the vanilla... Oh, speaking of Wyvern.
That is a very mean spot for a very mean boss. Wyvern leads with a Mega Nuke, which hits your entire party for, well, pretty high damage in most places. And that spot, I think, is going to be pretty much max 9999. You can reflect it if you can get a wall or Star Veil up in time, but that's a big if you can get it up in time.
Yeah, and Sony is kind of rocking a team here where everyone has kind of like middling agility. No one's really bottomed out. We don't necessarily have a cursed ring to help with that, nor is there anyone with really high agility like Edge, really just Edge, to get an early turn like that.
So Sonny opting to do some trap chests instead, finding the behemoth.
Not too tricky a fight if you have a good source of DPS, although right now, this team not really having a good single strong source. The nice thing about the Behemoth is that it's pretty slow, takes very few turns of its own, but it does counter pretty much every direct attack with a counter of its own, whether a punch, or if you hit it with Holy Magic and is by itself, it'll do a lovely little storm attack that does weak on every one of your party members. Sonny opting to forgo that, and actually going to try this Wyvern fight again. Let's see if we get a Star Veil off in time.
So on UA's side, he has somehow found his way into the Giant, and he's fighting the Elements boss. Turns out that it's the Baron Guards, so another pretty free boss. Stoppable again, and vulnerable to stone or instant death. So this is actually going to net him a whole lot of experience, so turned out pretty well for him that he checked that.
So I wonder at this point if the idea here with UA is to make, long bomb Hail Mary play, hoping for a Mist Dragon at CPU. If he was down here for the last arm fight and thought, let me see if I can get some really easy experience, or if maybe he's even hoping that the character pays off. I mean, we could find our Paladin Cecil at the end here, and then that Crystal Sword lets you do so much work. Demerine, meanwhile, doing that double gold dragon grind, taking advantage of the life glitch, getting 90,000 XP for that fight. Gonna probably be dunking on a few more of these till her party is nice and ready to tackle most of these bosses down here. Still, though, that Odin fight, that Wyvern fight, both of those are still going to be very difficult with this team in spite of these increased levels.
So Sonny checking another boss. This is at the Vanilla Wyvern spot. Turns out it's Mylon Z. Not the hardest boss, physicals only, so if he can set up some blinks, then he'll be more or less safe. And Mylon Z very vulnerable to both Cure Magic as well as Fire, so several options to take it down.
Sylverfyre, meanwhile, has found their way underground, gone to the Fey March. Freebie item right here in the Vanilla Rat Tail chest is the pass. In version 3 of the randomizer, it doesn't count towards your 10 key item count, but we are on Forge the Crystal. So that means when you get your 2 halves, you have to come back to Earth no matter where you are. If you find it in, that Wyvern fight at Ogopogo, you still have to come back to Earth to make your crystal from the Legend Sword and the Adamant. Accordingly, the pass, wonderful find. You're not going to have to fly back to the moon. You're not going to have to walk through the full lunar subterrane. You're going to be able to take the shortcut in Troya and get to your Z fight very fast.
So second boss in the Giant UA has found is the Ogopogo. That one's a bit trickier, especially with this particular party, as Ogopogo does counter all spells with some pretty nasty magic. He uses Blaze, which does a quarter of your HP to the entire party.
UA, probably only having really been checking for Mist Dragon, sees it's not there, says, no worries. Enjoy your time up here, Nope Noodle. You have a good time. I'm gonna go underground now. Now, I may have missed it, Pinglater. Did you see if Sylverfyre checked for the Warriors chest on their way down to Feymarch?
I did not see the chest show up. It looked like they were checking some of the chests. I'm not sure if they actually found the warriors or not.
Gotcha. Our tracker, J Money Motos, letting us know in the chat that they did not do a full check. Good to know. And Sylverfyre has found D-Mist.
That is a bonus round. As we mentioned before, if you defeat this boss, you not only get the key item for the Sur spot, but also you can talk to Rudia's mom to get a second item.
My personal least favorite spots to fight that boss are at the Land of Summon Monsters, because you see them at a point, you get excited, you're like, oh, it's Mist Dragon, it only does, 3 attacks, I can heal up, but those spots are so fast that it's really hard to do the fight in a reasonable time frame. Even if you're completely able to handle it, it can still take, 10, 12, 15 minutes if you're under-leveled. I think that was a very smart move on Sylv's part, deciding to hold off for now.
Yeah, so opting to exit out and head up to the Tower of Babel. There are, I believe, 4 trap chests here, pretty easy to kill, as well as the boss spot and the tower key spot, so many key items potentially available here.
Demerine taking a reset to that Odin fight. Fared pretty well at the start of it, but again, if you don't get it slowed and get a ton of damage dealt out, it's a very high HP spot. In the vanilla game, you do fight 2 enemies there, Lunar Dragons, and so most single bosses there are going to have upwards of 60,000 HP. Very difficult to chew through that with this team at this time.
Demerine has found that Officer Soldier as well, so she'll be happy to see a pretty much free boss up there on the moon. Sani is still working on that Nylon Z. Looks like he's popping some illusions for the blink and just working away with spells.
Yeah, that Fire 3 doing a lot of work here. Luckily, Wyvern spot not too high HP compared to some other lunar spots. Of course, in the vanilla game, its rudeness comes from the big Mega Nuke attack. There we go. Cleans it up. Not too much trouble. Ooh, and the chains keep coming. The Baron key, of course, unlocking 2 more key item spots you can check, as well as a character location. If you go back and you walk through the waterway into the castle, you can fight the king in the Kinatsu spot, whoever that may be today, to get a key item where you'd normally get the airship in the vanilla game, and you can head underground and fight the Odin spot for another key item check there. And Sylverfyre finding the twin harp in one of the trap chests. So fingers crossed that we don't see our legend sword and adamant armor, adamant item too quickly. I want to hear the music. You all want to hear the music. Fingers crossed. Let's go to Cape Magnus. Any more donations come in recently, Fluff?
Nothing as of right now. But I would like to take this opportunity to talk a little bit about some of the other places that you can find stuff for RPG Valkyries. On the website, rpgvalkyrie.es, so it's RPG Valkyries and then a dot right before the ES, you can find records of all the other events that RPG Valkyries have done, including like past marathons. So if you like RPG speedrunning content, I would highly recommend you go there and check this out after the stream is over.
Excellent, thank you. Demerine finding that Wyvern fight as well. Not getting... Nope. Oh, these really fast boss spots that are getting the drop on our racers. If you aren't ready, you can always go back at a later time, get a better anchor. Agility anchoring, a big factor in free enterprise. You don't have strict agilities for each character and monster. Instead, a calculation is done based on who... Sometimes it's either Cecil, if you have certain flags active. Other times it's whoever's in the middle spot of your party. That it's all based around that character's agility. And so you can, if a monster is really, really fast, well, you can make your characters just as fast by slowing down your anchor even further. And we'll probably see a little bit of that later if our racers have to deal with the Odin fight, the Wyvern fight that we've seen just decimate multiple racers already tonight. And I seem to have missed what Sylverfyre received from that last trap chest. Motos, did you catch that? Thank you. By the way, huge shout out to Motos, handling tracking tonight on these KQMT seeds with 4 racers all at once. Very tricky to keep track because the key item spots, you can have a racer run into a trap chest somewhere and kill it before you even realize what's happened. So,
Alright, so UA has made his way into the Sylph Cave, and with Fusoya that should be pretty easy. You can just Quake to pretty much clear everything and keep using Float to keep your party immune from those poison. And there are many trap chests down there in order to potentially pick up some items. One of which he already found was the pan, which is quite convenient because then he can head on down to the Sylph House and go ahead and give Yang a good whacking with that, and that'll yield 3 more key items.
Yeah, one the Sylphs will give you directly. The other 2 you can get from Sheila. Of course, the first one Sheila will give to you as long as you've encountered Yang down here in the Sylph Cave. The other one you do have to return the pan for, but that means that in one go here, UA is going to be able to check all 7 spots plus those 3. Be a very lucrative Sylph Cave, and no one else has come here.
So Sylverfyre has made their way to the top of the Tower of Babel, and the boss there is Leviathan. Not too hard in this scenario. Having 2 Fusoyas will work pretty well, either just quaking or using lightning spells, as Leviathan is weak to that element.
And of course, Leviathan does alternate big waves, which do a quarter of your max HP in damage, with Ice 2s. But this is a very low magic power spot. Dr. Lugay and Balnab do not really have that much magic attack power, so you'll notice some of those Ice 2s outright whiffing or doing just piddly pathetic damage.
Do we have time for a quick donation?
Oh, of course. Go right ahead.
We have $180 from Random Hughes, who says, let's meet some incentives. Put this towards Sailor Moon Good Ending and the one afterwards for Darkened Sky, which puts us at fully completed $100 out of $100 for the good ending of the Sailor Moon and Other Story. And our next incentive, the Darkened Sky Silly Cutscene Showcase, is already at $80 out of $100. Only $20 more to get that met. Get those donations in. And also, a huge shout out to Random Hughes for giving us so much money. That is so generous. Thank you so much.
So Demerine has, looks like, given up on the moon for now with all those tough bosses and headed back down and going to join Sylverfyre in clearing out the underground. Not a bad choice.
Yeah, well, she also did get that Baron key from the from, I believe, the Mylon Z fight, just like Sawny did, so she does have that option as well available to her. Sawny, meanwhile, has found the Red Giant's chest on the moon, another potential one. When you've been playing these seeds, how do you feel about focusing on moon bosses versus worrying about the trap chests on the moon?
Typically, I find that the bosses are usually easier to take on first. I guess not all of them, but usually there's at least one you can find a way to get past because they have different strategies available, and then that can kind of help you power up. Some of the trap chests, I guess, are pretty scary with the dragons especially. So I tend to go for the bosses first, but it kind of depends, I guess, on your party.
I hate to interrupt here, but I do think this deserves a special shout out. Royal Blue Wizard has tripped and unfortunately spilled 10 gifted subs just all over the channel. Thank you so much to Royal Blue Wizard for gifting all those subs to everybody. That money will be going to the Take This charity to help provide better support at gaming events in the future.
Penguinator, you got gift sub all over yourself, dude.
Oh, thank you for the gift sub. Alright, so Demerine has decided to head into the Baron Castle. There are potentially 2 key item checks in there. There's the Baron King spot and the Odin spot. And there's also a character available as well.
So, Sylverfyre here, doing the bottom half of Sylph Cave. I'm not positive, but I think that Sylv and Demi sometimes do a thing where one of them will take the top half, one of them will take the bottom half when you have that second floor choice to make. Of course, we already know from UA's UA. Oh, another crystal sword, by the way. That's, well, we're not going to find a second Paladin Cecil, but that's definitely money. But we already know from UA's screen that the pan is in the back half. So this will be a slight advantage to No Cane in the World. Their team having just a slightly better route through here by virtue of getting lucky with that pan. Will not have to go through the bottom half twice just to bonk Young with it.
So I don't think UA has found anything other than the pan as of yet in the Sylph Cave. A few chests left to check.
Still a pretty decent source of XP, kind of in the middle game here. Not as good as any of our dedicated grind spots, but you are at least killing 2 birds with 1 stone this way.
When Pain Man is at the Baron throne room.
Well, not that painful in this spot, and even if he were, Demerine sending Edward to hide, nothing to see here. 3 hits, 3 strikes, the Dark Knight is out of here.
So in the randomization, the Dark Knight does retain its script where it will end the fight if you don't attack it after using 3 Dark Waves, give you a nice little text message, and peace out.
I enjoy Demerine showing off a few of these situations here where Edward can shine. I'm sad we didn't get to see it in the Odin fight. Maybe someone will eventually do it. But right there, if that had been one of the ruder Dark Knight Cecil locations, we would have seen Eddie saving the day. Ooh, and finding Edge here. Oh no, goodbye, Eddie. You did good work, but Edge is a very high-powered character, can dish out tons of damage later in the game. But notably, Demi's Fu now knows Nuke. Most powerful single-target black magic spell in the game. Very quick casting. Going to be doing a lot of work for her with any upcoming bosses.
Sylverfyre did find a trap chest actually inside of the Sylph House. Those chests can be trapped in the randomization, so you do have to be careful there. And it looks like we got a frog, Fu, who unfortunately met his end.
Oh. I think Sawney is giving us our first peek at the Pale Dim spot on the Lunar Subterrane. CPU fight, it's more annoying than difficult. It's more time-consuming than risky. Appears to be thinking, no, I don't want to take the time to deal with that. Let's get out of Dodge.
And make sure you're watching Sylverfyre's screen right now. They're walking around as a blue frog, so it's a real treat. Oh, but the cabin will ruin it, unfortunately.
Oh, no overworld froggy sprites for us. Now Sylverfyre is doing that hunt for the Warrior's Chest. Another one of the trap chests that could have a pretty decent payoff. Demerine headed down to the Vanilla Odin spot to see what boss lies down here.
So I guess Sylverfyre did not do the whole Sylph Cave, so they did not find the pan. So we don't know what that will yield yet. Well, I guess we'll probably see in a second once UA turns that in.
Yeah, stealth item we'll get right now. Only a middle katana. I suppose there's probably a more technical name for that we did not get in the American translation. But Sheila too could still have the goods, or at least some of them. We've still not seen either half of our crystal.
Demerine has found the evil wall at the Odin spot. What do you think about that, boss, at that particular location?
It's actually, I think, possibly a little ruder than its normal spot. I think it has a slightly higher physical attack here. But of course, Demarine's team is very well leveled from the moon, has Bahamut, has Nuke. Not going to have really anything to worry about here.
The Sylverfyre did clear up that warrior's trap chest in the Fey March. I didn't see what it was, but I don't think it was any key item, judging by the tracker.
Yeah, my eyes were over here glued to just an Excalibur for turning in the pan. Oh, thank you, Royal Blue Wizard in the chat. It was the hook. See that marked on the tracker now. So that does open up another character check in Cave Eblin. It opens up 2 more trap chests. The Stellman chest in the cave itself, and the 4 Mad Ogre chest a little deeper in Upper Tower of Babel. So could still be where we need to go. And of course, if anyone has a rat tail, they can turn it now as well with the mini miner over next to Silvera.
So the first item from Sheila was actually the spoon. So I'm not sure what UA has as far as party, but if he still has Edward, you can actually equip the spoon on Edward, and it's a very powerful weapon. It has maximum attack power.
Demerine only finding a defense sword for beating up Evil Wall at the Odin spot. Still choosing to walk out, though. She did just get her Fu to full power, possibly figuring that the 100 extra HP is worth it. Similarly, if she finds a cane to add to the party, will definitely be a great weapon to have for him. Not quite as good as a Dragoon Spear or a White Spear, but very good piece of equipment for a cane or a Cecil.
So it looks like Sylverfyre is going ahead and picking up that hovercraft right away. Going to go to Eblon, check the shop probably, and check those trap chests, see if we get a good character. So potentially big developments there.
Yeah, I called Scala out earlier because the seed seemed rude, and then, oh, you get your key. Congratulations, you don't have to do anything on the moon. But we are an hour and 4 minutes in with neither piece of the crystal. Where have you hidden these today, Scala? What have you done?
Yeah, we haven't seen anyone touch the dwarf castle yet. So potentially something interesting there. Of course, there's still plenty of spots on the moon that these runners were a little bit unprepared for, so they couldn't quite take care of yet.
Silverfyre showing off the true final boss of Free Enterprise, the inventory management. When you have so much good gear on some of these seeds, or on seeds where you just have to scrape and scrimp and try to keep a hold of every little thing that may give you an advantage, it can be very difficult to deal with these limited amount of spots that the game provides for us.
So Silverfyre did find Bacchus wine in that shop. It's a pretty powerful item. It allows a character to berserk themselves instantly. And berserk is a very powerful status for physical fighters. Allows them to automatically attack at 50% increase.
And that automatic attack is really possibly even more important than just the increased strength. The fact that you don't have to wait for the character's turn to come around through the ATB system is immensely powerful. Aside from that, there are a few other subtleties with the ATB system in this game where if there's too much happening at once, certain things don't necessarily resolve otherwise. You can cause status elements to stay on permanently. You can cause enemies to otherwise be delayed in some of their actions, kind of. So Bacchus Wine, great item to find, especially if you have a character who can take advantage of it.
Sylverfyre finding that first trap chest in the Eblon and Babel area. So this is the two stale men. They are vulnerable to stop, but you can't use instant death, so the coffins don't work. However, with a Bahamut, that's not really much of an issue, as we see, they just disappear instantly. And the item from the Staleman disappeared too quickly for me to see, so I'm not sure what that was.
Sylverfyre's thumbs are faster than my eyes as well. So hopefully Motos caught it. If not, if anyone in chat wants to let us know. Oh, more wine. What are they doing in this cave? They're not hiding from the elements. This is the Eblanese people's secret bootleg wine operation.
It's interesting that we actually have Free Enterprise itself in chat talking about a run of it.
Well, we do find our quack kid, Palom, here at the Vanilla Edge spot. Of course, with two Fusoyas already in the party, I'm not sure if Sylverfyre feels they need additional black magic damage. Of course, could be fun to see see a full-on reflect strats at the Zeramis fight. We'll get into that a little more down the road. I might be tempted to actually take the kid at this point, just for the prospect of having 4 nuke casters.
I mean, I'd do it, but as many people know, I have some biases toward mages.
So now we get to see if we're going to have a slight little bit of additional rudeness in the seed here. Of course, the 4 Mad Ogre chests can be down here in any of these trap ones. If it has something important, well, you can't exit out of the Tower of Babel. You can warp back a little bit. Otherwise, you have to walk most of the way. It's just, this could really be irksome. Sylverfyre is definitely hoping to see it here sooner rather than later.
Interesting that Demerine has actually decided to also pick up that hook and presumably follow Sylverfyre a little bit. Perhaps she wants the Bacchus that are in the shop.
Would Free Enterprise in the chat please not tease me with that? I do not need to go be instantly refreshing the Free Enterprise website in the middle of commentary. Keep your lies to yourself.
Alright, so Sylverfyre clearing out that Mad Ogre. Just gonna try to see what it is this time. Oh, just a Soma drop, unfortunately. So even resetting out of that, Sylverfyre doesn't want to bother wasting time walking out.
So the hook items here, kind of a buzz. The only real value down here was the Bacchus wine for sale, and Sylverfyre only has one character who's really melee oriented at this time. So not a huge payoff down here via the hook. May still be required if the Rat Tail gates progression, but it looks like now our next sight of something new will probably be UA here, clearing out this demist fight at the Asura spot.
Yeah, that certainly is a struggle of a fight. It hits quite hard and periodically turns to mist, at which point it's immune to everything. So you kind of have to time your attacks, and with spells it's even harder since your spells have some delay on them. But with the abundance of white mages, it shouldn't be a scenario where UA is going to end up wiping, just a quite lengthy fight getting through it.
And of course, there are some things you can do to make this fight a little less onerous on yourself. If you have a Silk Web, you can throw that to apply 2 stacks of slow. Although it means the mist form will last a little bit longer, you also have more time to get those attacks off while it's actually in the dragon form. If you really have the rhythm of the fight down, and I've seen this quite a bit with vanilla speedrunners of the game who are used to fighting D-Mist in its vanilla location, having a feeling for when it's about to pop up that message saying get ready to fight, and going ahead and queuing up, a spell or a jump or something with delay at that point, just to get a couple extra actions into the queue. Lots of ways to actually, optimize this fight. Of course, you can always just brute force it too.
Sylverfyre has made their way back to the moon, doing some gold dragon fights with the sirens in Bahamut Caves, so probably going to take on that boss afterward. Of course, that was Kignazo, so might be a bit too scary even with a few levels.
And Demerine showing off the Mylon and the gas here at the Leviathan spot. Bahamut going to do tons of work here. Of course, Mylon will counter everything with a Lightning 1 spell. That's not the rough part. The only worry here is if enough turns pass where Mylon actually takes a swing, that might actually send a party member packing. But otherwise, the only annoyance here is dealing with the time that is consumed by all these Lightning 1s.
Alright, so Silver going for at least a second round of Gold Dragon, so probably eyeing that Kignazo, trying to get either enough HP or just enough to be able to prevent those waves with lit spells. I think while kind of everyone's in a slow boss fight, we could use a donation or two.
We do not have any new donations coming in, but I would like to briefly correct a mistake I made earlier. The $180 donation from earlier did fulfill both the Sailor Moon Good Ending incentive as well as the Dark in Style Silly Cutscene Showcase incentive. So both of those have been met. And coming up, we still have more to donate to. After that, later this evening, or maybe I should say tomorrow morning, we have Shining Force CD Book 1, as well as Shining Force The Legacy of Great Intention. We have some name bid wars for those, for naming Nick and naming the hero, respectively, neither of which have anything donated to them. So for the low price of literally any amount of money, you can pick the name for any of those characters.
So Demerine did make it through that Mylon fight at the Leviathan spot, and the reward there was your favorite item in Ben, the ninja shirt.
Wait, I thought that was your team name. My favorite item of disappointment is actually the Drain Spear. At least Ninja Shirt you can sell for a little bit of cash. Although for those of you who missed it, there was a wonderful run of this game at AGDQ where racer after racer received a Ninja Shirt, and you could see the wave of disappointment wash over each of their faces in turn. Truly one of the subtle joys of free enterprise.
Speaking of waves, Sylverfyre is now fighting Kignazo. Looks like they tried to get a lit one timed with Rydia, but that went off a little bit early. We'll see if Fusoya can stop the wave in time.
One thing I did notice here is that Sylverfyre decided to go into this fight after grinding, but before saving. So Rydia, having very few MP here, does not have enough to throw out another Bahamut, may need to throw one of these Ether 2s on her just so she can actually do something this fight.
That's some confidence right there, going into Kignazo on the moon without saving. I'm impressed.
I mean, when you're good, and all four of these racers are really fantastic at this game.
Alright, so Sani is, I believe, the first of these four runners to go to the Dwarf Castle. So we'll see what's there. The bosses shouldn't be too hard at this point. The Mega Sisters in particular should go down to a couple quakes.
And of course, Rydia still has that Dragon Lord at her disposal as well.
So meanwhile, UA did finish that D-Mist fight. I did not catch what the item was immediately from it, but we still have another item from Rydia's mother in the Mist Village.
And Motos, our tracker, informing us it was Stardust. So, very helpful, but not quite what we're looking for. Leaving that item hanging, though, does not want to just leave Fey March and have to return later. Going to go ahead and try to clean out this Mylon gas fight. And probably won't be as quite effective at it as Demerine was, having both Quake and Bahamut at her disposal, but still shouldn't be difficult for his team at this time.
So the character at Dwarf Castle was Kane, but Sonny decides he doesn't need Kane. Kane's not that great, so he just leaves him there.
Well, one of the things at this point is that it can be tricky to decide, oh, do I really want to change my party out? I've already have this many levels. I should be able to clear most things in my path. Free Enterprise does give you some tools at your disposal to mitigate that. If a character under certain flag sets is more than 5 levels behind the median, they'll get double experience. More than 10 levels behind your party median, they'll get triple experience. So you can play catch up fairly quickly, and on certain seeds, you may even want to use that strategically to overlevel a character who comes in late. So you don't have to feel utterly stuck with the party you've already worked with, but Sony is undoubtedly comfortable with it at this point.
All right, and Silverfyre did finish that Kagnazo fight, and the value at Cave Bahamut was a Dwarf Axe.
And Iridia's mom only has a Protect Ring. Is everything behind Dwarf Castle at this point, or just hiding in the lunar subterrane?
It's probably Wyvern at Oga required, if I had to guess.
Scala, I'm kind of thinking that the Valk's emote for evil might have needed to be huge based on this seed alone. Not to usurp Natara or anything, but come on.
And Sonny did pick up a pink tail at the Dwarf Castle, so he's going to slide on over to the Fey March, pick up his hook, and turn in that pink tail, pick up an adamant armor. Strongest armor in the game, pretty much immune to all elements, and boosts all stats. What more can you ask for, really?
A Paladin Cecil to wear it and use that crystal sword we found. That's what I can ask for.
At this point, do we have any locations for Cecil besides the Giant possible?
You know, I think you're right. Because we did see that the package was our duplicate Fu. We've already been up Tower of Zot. We've been to Dwarf Castle. We've been to Cave Etlin. I think you're absolutely correct. I think the only way to get your Crystal Sword swinging Paladin is to go to Giant. And something tells me no one's going to be doing that.
Ogo at CPU, anyone? Any takers? All right, so Silverfyre thinks they're ready to take on that CPU. There are a few ways you can handle this. If you do just take out the orbs, then the CPU will use Globe 199, which pretty much one-shots 2 people in your party. And then the orbs are regenerated, so then you have to kill them again. Fender will try to heal it. It'd be quite tricky.
Silverfyre, lucky, lucky, lucky. Silverfyre using one of my favorite strats here. Put up a wall or a star bell on one of their own party members. Cast float on the team. It auto-targets the full team. You can't choose other targets, but it bounces off the wall and hits one of the 3 parts here. You can narrow it down to 2 if you kill that defender first. And puts float on the attacker. Now, Silverfyre can cast Quake, 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 Quake non-stop. It will only hit the walled CPU. The attacker will rise above it all. Admittedly, Rydia can't be throwing Bahamuts willy-nilly right now, but this definitely adds a ton of DPS for Silverfyre dealing with the CPU fight.
Yeah, all the attacker does is it uses that Mazer, which does 10% of your current HP. So pretty easy to heal through if you even get low at all. It looks like we have a Sid using his fists. Maybe ran out of arrows there. So going to be a little bit short on damage then, but the Quakes will get through eventually. Bonnie picking up his adamant armor, so he's pretty happy at least.
Yeah, should be in great shape to go back and tackle those lunar bosses, which stymied his progress earlier. I do like we're hour 21 minutes in, no legend sword, no adamant.
So if you're in Sonny's shoes, now you have an adamant armor. Which of those moon bosses are you eyeing as your next option?
Honestly, I think. Well, I don't know if Sonny has a cursed ring. Could use the rescue flag to pick up a slower character back from the Tower of Wishes and go straight for the Wyvern spot. That would be one thing I'd be inclined to do. On the other hand, Edge with the Adamant armor may be fast enough to go ahead and get a Starvel off. You really have to be able to get that Starvel off to handle that fight. Afterwards, you can kind of do a battle of attrition. You can throw life potions at characters and just try to outpace the nukes. But if you don't get that initial Starvel off, you're not getting anywhere in that fight.
So interestingly, he's also heading back to Bahamut Cave. Both teams actually prioritizing that in their revisit of the moon. And we may see Sonny also do a little bit of grinding like we saw Sylverfyre do. So Sonny just runs directly into the Kegnazo fight. So hopefully that Adamant will help him make sure that he doesn't get hit by the wave.
Yeah, although the wave's damage is constant based on Kenatsu's HP, it is still dodgeable at certain places with low enough magic attack power. Silverfyre, meanwhile, cleaning up the CPU fight. Rat tail. All right, do you come back down and check that out?
I think given that it's at the Pale Dim spot, you go ahead and exit out. And you can leave a save on the moon, so if Rat Tail doesn't lead anywhere, you can just reset back up, not have it to fly back.
Or you know, be even better, Silverfyre. When you check that rat tail, would you mind going over to Cave Magnus? Come on, please don't stop the music.
So UA is checking the Eblon Cave, and presumably he'll check the Mad Ogres in the Tower of Babel as well. And fortunately, we know he'll be in for some disappointment. Pick up his Bacchus Wine and Soma Drop. An extra 10 MP for either Tella or Fu.
All right, are we finally going to get a piece of the puzzle? I've never been so excited to see someone turn in a rat tail. Hey, there we go. Legend Sword, one item left. I'm rooting for it to be a Twin Harp. Do you still want to stake your claim on Wyvern and Ogopogo?
Yeah. I'm all in on Wyvern at Ogo. Oh, I thought for a second Silver was headed toward the Twin Harp.
Oh, tease. Maybe leaving that to Demerine. Demerine is also rocking that Twin Harp in her inventory. Maybe a case where it's her duty to go ahead and clean up what little bit remains on Earth. But if this seed ends with no one giving us the music, I'm going to be so heartbroken.
Heartbroken. Alright, so Silverfyre is going to tackle more of the moon. And yeah, Demerine going for the music.
I would like to say shout outs to the Valkyries for getting this wonderful RTMP set up for us and everything. We in the commentary booth actually get to listen to the music tonight instead of just having it on mute and paying close attention to chat. So Huge props to the Valks for getting this going.
I just realized I could have been listening to one of their audio streams the whole time. I just was sitting here in silence.
Oh. Sylverfyre finding the double red dragon chest. Billy and Jimmy here, hitting like trucks. But I believe that Sylva's rocking some Artemis arrows, of course, has Foos that can both do Nuke and Quake, and Bahamut from Rydia. As long as they can get some of these spells off, should be fine. But those characters are crunchy and taste good with ketchup. If you don't have adamant armor or crystal rings, you're gonna feel that hurt in the morning.
So Demerine is trying to kill her own characters in the lead up to the Dark Elf. It's kind of a fake fight before the actual one. And it's a story fight, so you do need to die. So if you kill off your people faster, then you save yourself a few seconds.
Yeah, and if you even do manage to find a way to kill the Dark Elf before the scripted part ends, guess what? You're getting the same cutscene, you're still in the fight afterwards. It's probably in your best interest to just knock your characters off as quickly as possible. Oh, yep, Scholar rolled this. It's the song of her people. So Baigen lies here at the Dark Elf spot. Not too bad here. Rather low HP, and Demerine is rocking a couple of heavy hitters who don't rely on purely spell magic. Will Sawney get through Odin in time? Came back for round 2 or 3 of this fight. You know who'd be great here? Edward.
So what is the Odin spell actually based on?
I'm honestly not sure. I think it is based on spell power, because I believe it is really, really... Oh, we have go mode. Adamant behind music. There we go.
Alright, you're right.
You owe me a Coke. But nah, the Odin ability, like his normal punches are based on physical attack at the spot. The Odin attack is based on spell damage at the spot. That's why if you fight it at the Dr. Lugay spot in Lower Babel, his normal punches will be strong, but then the Zantetsu Ken will come out and it'll hit for like 500 damage, if that. D-Lunar spot, of course, having pretty high both physical and magical attack, but Sonny gets through and is very poorly rewarded for his trouble. We know where go mode is, and Demerine has it at roughly the 90-minute mark.
Yeah, so Demerine will have to follow Sylph to the moon to pick up that rat tail, and perhaps do some grinding while there to level up a bit more. Sylverfyre actually is continuing their behemoth fight. Presumably they just want some more experience from it.
They are a hefty chunk of XP, especially since Sylverfyre has reached 10 key items. That's the double. Over 6 digits of XP. Levels coming in hot. Probably won't be taking any more chest fights, though, at this point. Any grinds now will be far more purposeful.
Yeah, so for Sylverfyre, once they go ahead and pick up their adamant, they'll probably do some grinding to get some more spells for Rydia. And probably going to use Reflect Strats for Zeremis. Could even just go with the 2 Fusoyas, having 4 mages in that party.
And of course, Scala, you do have a little bit more time since Demerine does have to follow Instill's footsteps to get the other half of the crystal, but you said you wanted a heads up as we were getting Sprite ready, so there's your alert, my friend.
Sylverfyre showing off their perfect aim, landing right on the Enterprise with the Lunar Whale.
Well, we do have a few.
They can't overlap in that way, so you bounce off when you try that.
We do have a few moments here while everyone crisscrosses and fills in the blanks. Do we have any more donations that have come in, Ploff?
We do not, but I would like to take this to ask you all a couple of questions. Let's say I see this here on RPG Valkyries, and I'm really interested in this free enterprise thing. Is there anywhere I could go to find out more information, maybe get some resources?
Oh, of course. The main site is ff4fe.com, which I will go ahead and paste that link in the chat. There, you can find links to the community Discord, you can generate seeds of your own, you can find access to a plethora of resources if you poke around the site. But really the best thing to do is to come join the Discord, links on the website there. We have great, thriving community, people always willing to help out with any questions you have, any difficulty you're having in a seed. And we have a lot of community events and races happening every week.
So Sani is fighting that wyvern at the Ogo spot. He did manage to get off some Starveils for the walls with Rydia, probably with an adamant and fast edge. And now he's just trying to keep his people, keep them lifed up. Wyvern still hits pretty hard with those nukes after the initial Mega Nuke. And should be able to get through this eventually, just keeping everyone lifing as they fall down.
Demerine here opting for impatient strats. Forget trying to do clever things with float. Forget trying to just beat the CPU to death. We're gonna let fly with our dragons and our meteors and knocks out CPU without much difficulty at all.
Yeah. Very clean fight there. Didn't even see any Globe 199s come out.
Which is trickier than it seems. Meteo has a very slow cast time. Bahamut has a relatively slow cast time. And Demerine got both those spells to go off back to back and clean things up before anything got remotely risky for her team. Very well executed. Music, round 2. Looks like the levels are a little higher this time, chat, with their oohs and their ahs. Definitely one of the best little additions to Free Enterprise.
So Sani did finish that wyvern fight and got a Luca key for his trouble. So he could be following that. Of course, we know it's a dead end. It's not the easiest thing to take care of. Sealed Cave is a pretty difficult dungeon at times.
Yeah, the one redeeming factor of Sealed Cave, not to be confused with Sylph Cave, oh, those are so easy to trip up when you're listening to them, is that you get to see the key item before you have to fight the boss, which is very nice. If you find out it's junk, reset out, pretend you never went in there. We won't tell anyone if you don't. On the other hand, this is a double-edged sword that can swing the other way. If the boss there is Mist Dragon and you reset out after saying, oh, this is garbage, well, that can also ruin your day and give you a very, very rough run.
So Sani getting an interesting little interaction there. The red giant fight, which is one of the trap chests on the moon, they will actually counter any summon you use on them by self-destructing. And so I think Sani was just trying to kill them with the Bahamut, but then they decided they'll just blow up on their own.
Demerine picks up the second half of her crystal from the mini miner. Going to have to head down to Kakol's smithy, of course, to go ahead and forge it together. This is kind of interesting. I'm curious whether it'll be her or her teammate sylverfyre who actually gets there first. sylverfyre just completing the fight to get the other half of their crystal as well. I mean, at this point, we can definitely say the Sylvan Spelunkers have a clear lead. They have found both halves of their crystal. But now I'm kind of interested to see which one of them actually finishes this fight first.
So now, they did not find the pink tail, which, if I recall correctly, was at Dwarf Castle. So the actual Zeremis fight itself will be a little bit tougher for them than, at least for Sani, who will eventually go in with an adamant armor. But they're very accomplished runners. I'm sure they know what they're doing. They'll figure out a way to take on this final fight.
And if you do look at the times here, you can really get an idea of just how 2v2 changes the gameplay so significantly. We're an hour 37 in. Our racers, our Spelunkers, have checked nearly every spot in the game. There's still a few loose spots on the moon, but they've done so much together by combined communication, knowing, okay, this is where you find this is where you find this, you get your best gear here, and combined, taking a seed that would take, a single player around possibly the 3-hour mark, each of them going to probably come in here around, I would say, like 1 hour, 45 minutes or so.
And Sani has found another trap chest, the Double Dragon 2, the Revenge. The blue D is about as scary as the red one. Got a little bit different set of spells, but Bahamut can probably take care of them fairly easily.
So, although Demerine beat Sylverfyre to the crystal, she feels she still needs to do a little bit of grinding. Sylverfyre again grappling with inventory management, the true final boss. Oh yeah, don't forget your crystal, Sylv. Do not forget that. But I think Sylv, just from doing those moon bosses, may not really need to grind, so may actually have another little reversal here and beat their teammate into the Z fight.
I think Sylverfyre is still a little bit low if they actually want to use Rydia and Rosa with Nuke and White. But they could do it just with the two Fusoyas, but it looks like they are going to do some grinding themselves. Demerine has a slightly different party with the Edge mixed in there, so she could actually opt for slightly lower levels and go for Berserk strats, or she might just decide to grind all the way to the Nuke for Rydia and do Reflect strats. I think either way it's probably winds up close to the same, just the grinding versus the in-fight time, and probably comes down more to whichever one she's more comfortable with this party.
And of course, we are seeing here one of the most popular grind spots in the game. There's this little 3-space western edge of the underground map where you summon yellow dragon eggs. They have about 1800 HP. They are vulnerable to myriad status effects. If you have dragon damaging equipment, you'll do 4 times damage to them. And they give, well, at the 10 key item mark, 68,000 experience a pop. Great way to grind, especially if you don't have a reason to go back to the moon. Both these racers have the pass. They're going to get whatever last levels they need here, and then go take the shortcut to their Zeromus fight. We do see here Demerine using the Coffin item, deals instant death to a target vulnerable to it, whereas Sylverfyre has a Dragon Whip on their Rydia. It's not that good for spellcasting, but pretty powerful weapon, works fine in the back row to glitch her to where she's always long range, and it's one of those quad dragon damage weapons. So both these teammates here cleaning up these eggs very quickly, doing their best impressions of Gaston.
Well, they certainly will get large, even roughly the size of a barge. Sani is still going through the moon. He's probably going to end up clearing out every single chest and boss location, because he's going to have to make his way all the way back up to get back around to the Pale Dim spot, which has the go mode.
Well, they also still have to, both of No Cane in the World, neither of them has checked that Twin Harp yet. Come on, this is a Scala Please seed. You know you gotta check that music. You know you got to.
You're gonna do it. You're gonna do it.
There we go. Unfortunately, though, if I guess correctly, Scala will probably have the music on one of the Zeromus fights, so you may not be getting your third dose of the music tonight. Speaking of which, it does look like Demerine is about to head to the Zeromus fight, which means Scala. All-important question. Whose butt are we going to kick tonight?
And chat, I'm going to make sure that I sound... Oh. There we go. Now chat should be able to hear me. Chat, can you hear me before I start talking? I'm going to make sure that that did work. Are we good, chat? Yeah, we good. So I had a lot of fun coming up with the different Zeroma sprites. If you didn't know, all 4 of these sprites were completely brand new, never before seen. And because I love you all, I'm going to be showing you them at the end of the stream. So there is more hype to come. But as for whose butt we are going to be kicking tonight, if you are part of the Final Fantasy IV free enterprise community, you know this entity very, very intimately. And I think that all of you will appreciate the sprite. It's something that I think I've been wanting to do for a little while. I like now all the guesses about the status of what this sprite is going to be. I'm liking some of these guesses. Do either of you have a guess before it is revealed?
I mean, I honestly kind of want to see Wells as a sprite now. I mean, if Bick can be in Free Enterprise, I think Wells deserves a spot as well.
I would guess that it's feedback and ideas.
Well, I'll be happy to let you all know that Penguin is the winner tonight. The true winner.
For the record, I did not actually have any knowledge of this beforehand.
So Being Back and Ideas is now canonically part of Free Enterprise. So now you will have the chance to just fight the whole server.
This is beautiful. I'm glad that you were able to I'm so glad you were able to make that work.
It took a little bit of work because it's text.
Yeah, because I know you've. Oh, go ahead.
Unfortunately, you can't see, the little bit at the bottom is that the FF4 FE server would make a fun Zeromus sprite, is what the full text says. And then I even managed to fit in my avatar in there.
What are some of the restrictions you work with when you're actually making the sprites? Like, how are you able to work with palettes? Like, how many colors can you have? Like, how do you actually have to shrink things down to get these sprites for us?
Sure. So, like pretty much anything on the SNES, it is required to be a maximum of 15 colors plus 1 color for transparency, so 16 altogether. For Zeroma sprites, I do have an additional little bit of restriction that I have to have at least some area that is that will be color keyed to be transparent. So for like this sprite, there's a whole, you can't see it obviously because it's transparent, but there's a border that goes around it. So that will be our transparency color. Otherwise, in terms of size, it's roughly about 140 pixels tall and about 200 pixels wide is our actual size. So it has to be able to fit in there, and then it also has to be able to fit within the memory constrictions, which is more on board's side of things. So, like for example, the Highway to the Zima Zone Zeroma sprite, I believe, was the biggest sprite we've done in terms of memory size, because there's not a lot of transparency on that one. And I just like talked all over your Zeroma sprite. Usually this is where y'all get to shine.
Well, Demarine's doing pretty rudimentary here. Hybrid strats, Zerking, her front row fighters, reflecting nukes and whites with her back row mages. Did not skip the refill. we can just tell by how long the fight's gone that she's definitely having to do true through the full 120-ish thousand damage. But with how fast she's getting these phase skips off, Zeromus is not standing a chance. This fight will be over very soon.
I think it'll be over very quickly. I mean, Dem's got this. But yeah, then I see people talking about how the nukes work. That's all generated on within the game itself. It just kind of cycles the palettes through the different nuke colors. So I have absolutely no idea what a nuke or what a heal is going to look like until I actually see it happen live. And that's always, to me, a really fun part. I like it when there's some sprites where the nuke generates some really interesting, fun patterns. Anyway.
Now, Demi did just receive a full-powered Big Bang, knock down her Iridia, which she was using to reflect spells off of, but still had a Cure 4 already queued up with Fu. Still has a lot of good DPS being churned out here. Shouldn't be too much of an issue.
Sorry there for me bumping the mic. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to slip on out of here, and hope you all will enjoy the race. I'll be back, like I said, afterwards. I will reveal some secrets for you all. But enjoy the race until then.
Thank you, Scala.
Yeah, so sylverfyre also just getting into the Zeromus fight, going to finish shortly after their teammate. Interesting to note, sylverfyre did make a quick stop in the Antlion Cave to pick up a ribbon. So I guess they had actually remembered that from the very beginning and decided that they wanted that little extra defense, and so smartly making a quick trip to grab that.
Yeah. Ribbon kind of, I'm always torn between them. They do have the best magic defense and magic evade of any piece of headgear, but they don't give stat boosts like certain other things do, like you can get with Gaia hats, tiaras, wizard hats.
I think that was also powering up the Fusoyas for one last boss, so serving twofold purpose.
Excellent. A moment ago, it looked like Sawneyrath was going to leave the moon, thinking he had full cleared it, then suddenly remembered, oh no, Pale Dim Spot. So he is now here taking down the CPU attacker and defender, which we know will yield the other half of the crystal and put him into no mode. He still has to go get the other half from Twin Harp. Hopefully, Unknown will follow down right here, right quick, realize this is the only spot left on the moon, and they'll both be well on their way to the Zeromus fight as well.
And Demerine has finished with a time of 1:48.27 with a final dart from Edge. GG to Demerine.
Very well done, very well executed, and her teammate, sylverfyre, should be along very soon as well. Now, I was watching that dot done. I was very excited to see that for Demi. Did sylverfyre actually go with Zerk on Sid, or is he just doing a little extra fight damage?
I think it's just a little extra fight. Just undeserved.
Yeah, because with 4 spellcasters, I would definitely see Sylv going for the reflect kill and skipping that refill.
Yeah, so the idea with reflect is, first of all, you want to avoid Zeromus' counterattacks from that it would do normally if you directly use a spell. And secondly, Zeromus does refill its HP if you directly attack, but by using reflected spells, then you skip any sort of counter. Since the refill is a counter, then you end up doing half as much total HP damage required to finish the fight.
An excellent strategy that really kind of, it seemed, came into its own during the playoffs of last year's Highway to the Zenith Zone tournament, when all of a sudden people couldn't be picky about their parties. You're looking for ways to trim that Zeromus fight down as much as possible, and reflecting that last 16,000 damage or so, great way to pull it off. Sawny getting his rat tail will likely go turn that in ASAP. And when he does, we'll probably see UnknownAvailability do a very quick U-turn and head right back up to that Pale Dim spot.
Just 1 or 2 more spells required for Syl to finish off Zeromus. Like they're looking to heal up just to be safe.
Ooh, Sid, Hey, Rosa, what did Sid ever do to you? The pain.
Alright, so opting to cure up before launching that final spell, just to be safe, not a bad idea. They know they're already way ahead, so just want to avoid wiping here.
Now, looks like there may have been a misclick there. Actually targeted the nuke on the dead Sid instead of on Rydia to reflect it. Of course, you can have a lot of nerves here, especially when it looks like your Z-fight maybe getting a little off the rails. Gotta stay calm. You don't want to let it get too many attacks in before you take your turn. There's a well-targeted nuke. Let's see if this finishes it. Ooh, still a little more to go. Still a little more to go.
Do we have time for a quick donation?
Oh, certainly. Go for it.
We have $13.37 from Typhus Revenge, who says, "The RPG Valkyries are some of the best people I have met on Twitch. They should be able to go to RPG Limit Break. Here's some $13.37 because you're all elite runners and awesome." Thank you very much, Typhus Revenge.
There we go. Sawney did have to run up Lower Babel to grab that twin harp. Of course, excellent notes and communication kept between him and his partner. Knew exactly which chest to go to. Didn't wander around trying to find, which chest is this that has the twin harp. Knew where it was. We flying straight up to Cave Magnus to get his adamant as well.
So it looks like Sylverfyre has actually triggered that refill. So we saw a direct nuke used there. Actually, they wanted to trigger the counter nuke because it does cause the next big bang to be weaker.
Yeah, interesting part of Zeromus' spell script is that to avoid just utterly killing you with every counter nuke, it changes the spell power, it sets it to a point for the big bangs, and then whenever you trigger a counter nuke, it sets it so that that doesn't just do 7,000 damage to whoever it hits. So by timing things correctly, you can say, no, give me a weaker big bang. Of course, still requires precise timing, and with two Foos as your source of damage and healing, you can... Ooh, we see those MP totals and HP totals starting to wane here. Hopefully Sylverfyre will get a handle back on the Zeromus fight soon.
You still have that Sid, high HP, and Berserk up, and he'll do a decent amount of damage. I'm not sure if Sylverfyre actually picked up the full Artemis bow and Artemis arrow combo or not. Looks like not quite. You're doing only 1,500 per hit. So on the other side, Yue and Sani are in go mode. They're just picking up their respective second halves of the crystal, the legend sword, and the adamant. So they'll be on to the Zeromus fight in just a couple minutes.
Sawney here demonstrating one of the annoyances of coming into the Dark Elf fight, the first phase of the fight in Cave Magnus. When you're late game, you're fairly strong, your characters have really good gear. It's a lot harder for Dark Elf to actually knock you out quickly to move on to the cutscene and the fight proper.
Yeah, if you do have metallic equipment, then you can just throw that on and your characters are magnetized and effectively count as dead from the get-go. But for Yang especially, it's quite hard to find an actual equipable piece that counts as metallic. And they're not things you'd really want to keep around. It's the weak defensive items, Silver Ring, Iron Ring.
Still more reflected nukes going off on Discordmas up here on Sylverfyre's screen.
It's gotta be close. Should be seeing rocks, if not the kill soon.
Oh, I see flashing lights. And there we go.
GG to Sylverfyre. Final time of 1:56:02.
Combined time for the Sylvan Spelunkers, 3:44:29. They have taken first place and won this 2v2 match tonight. Very well executed to both of them. GG's. Sawney cleaning up the Bygone fight at the Dark Elf spot. Will now also be getting the other half of his crystal.
So UA is doing that CPU fight. Looks like he also went for that reflected float strat we were talking about earlier to allow the quakes. I'm not sure if it actually landed on the right target. Fortunately, that is a 50-50 chance. You can't control which one it gets reflected on. If it lands on the CPU, then you're stuck just using regular attacks.
And hopefully we'll get your winners in here very soon. Should be able to get the Sylvan Spelunkers on in here. Hey, we are joined by one of the Spelunkers, sylverfyre. GG, congratulations on the victory. And hey, there's Demerine. GG to both of you.
To those.
Hello, hello. So, interesting fact. This is the first time that I have won a race in a Valkyrie marathon.
Oh, well,
As
congratulations.
a member of the Valkyries, that is a little awkward.
Bringing home a little bit of pride to the stream team, of course. So, seed seemed fairly reasonable 2v2 seed, but how do you? What was your reaction? Because of course we couldn't hear your voices. I really want to know what each of your reactions was to that finals aroma.
I mean, I guess I'll go with what my girlfriend said. I'll go with what Amy had to say, which was, that is incredibly powerful.
Were you actually
that was certainly a seat. It was certainly a sprite or something. I'm not actually sure it was a sprite.
Like, I was wondering if you were just literally reenacting your initial reaction. Like that.
That approximately was my reaction. So yes.
Being a workshop helper, I deleted it. It was fine.
Alright, so at the end, one thing I was wondering about sylverfyre is you made a quick check at Antlion Cave just before heading to Zeromus. Why do you decide to stop by there?
Fu didn't have Nuke yet. He needed one more boss for Nuke.
You had so many HPs. Wow. He just
Just 'cause
gained
he
the
was, like,
levels, but
level
not the boss
60.
fights.
Yeah. I was at 17. I was only at 17 out of for Fu, so I was like, okay, we discussed it like for a good minute of like
where's
what is the fastest boss that I can do?
And we're
Because
like,
I'd already cleared out Mist, I'd already cleared out Octomam.
right,
like-
and so we're like running through spots.
Ordeals was it's like, oh, I could do 2 bosses real quick at Ordeals. No, wait, that's
Wait.
Full Gauntlet.
Maybe you could run to the bottom. There's a free boss at the bottom. I'm not running to the bottom. That's all the way down there. It's like, did you do Antlion? No, it's just a ribbon. All right, let's do Antlion.
That's funny because at the very start of the race, when you were both given your first Fu, we pointed out that 2v2s, you sometimes end up with, a suboptimal Fu because each of you is taking a different, set of bosses. And it even came into play right before your Zeromus fight.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I also I picked up Mist and Octomam spots specifically for that reason. I knew that I
Yeah, because I'm the one who did Ordeals, and Ordeals was the tower key, so I wanted to try and make a raid on the tower key as fast as possible to see if Syl needed to climb the mountain or not. And when Syl didn't, that's 3 bosses off the table.
Were either of you nervous when you had full cleared Overworld and found only a Darkness Crystal leading forward?
No.
We're pros.
No,
we know what's
excited.
up.
We
We
were
know.
excited about that. We were a little we didn't get worried until it was in Ribbon's spot, and we're like, uh-oh, that's a problem, boss. At a 60k health spot.
Yeah, running into Odin there was very funny. Syl is just like, so you're gonna die. I'm like, yeah. So did you reset out? I'm doing it now.
Yeah, that is one thing that kind of stymied Sawney. Like, he did check most of those lunar subterranean bosses as well, but then after a little bit of work on Earth and coming back, decided to tackle the really hard ones first. Took care of that wyvern at Ogopogo, and
Ooh.
kind of worked from the bottom up, which, of course, you both know the way forward was at Pale Dim Spot. So that's kind of what slowed down the No Cane on Earth scene tonight. But they should be wrapping up shortly as well.
Mhm.
Yeah, UA got the reflect off, it looks like, and Sonny's got it all together right now. Just needs to go and turn in for the rock.
Mm-hmm. Actually, both you and your opponents went for Bahamut Cave first on the revisit with that Kagnazo. So why did you decide to prioritize that when you came back to the moon?
Partially because Demi had already cleared 2 of the 4 bosses that are at Lower Moon.
And the other 2 were terrible at Lower
And the
Moon.
other 2 were scary, and I wasn't actually that much more powerful at that point than how powerful Demi was when she originally went to the moon. So I'm like, I don't want to deal with those yet. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do Bahamut Cave, and then I'll do the Pale Dim Spot, because those probably aren't nearly as bad. And then I'll check trap chests on my way down, and that way I'll probably have Nuke on Rydia and
Right.
some more luxury stuff when I actually reach the really hard stuff.
Yep, leaving me to sweep the rest of the non-moon so that we were working both sides of the equation as fast as we possibly could.
Very well communicated, very well executed. We do see Sawney right here, by the way, making sure that those donation incentives are fulfilled, visiting Naming Way, reorganizing his team's names and everything. Did you all try to decide on like which party members you intended to keep for the sake of avoiding a Naming Way visit at all, or did you just let the chips fall where they had to?
We discussed it a little bit but for the most part, it was like, well, some of the good top tier characters, we try not to collide on names. Like, for example, Rosaridia and Fu and Edge.
Yeah, I paired my white mages, I paired my black mages, I paired my heavy hitters, and I put all my junk characters in the ultra spot.
And of course, I still ended up having to rename because I had 2 Fusoyas.
I didn't, because my swag is just too high.
Yeah, Demi didn't have to rename at all.
Wait, did I just hear you sounding like you were complaining about having 2 Fusoyas? What? Life is so hard.
I was complaining a little bit about having to do the package quest.
I mean, it could have been Miss Dragon. We hadn't seen her lying around yet.
No, we had seen Miss Dragon.
Oh, y'all had it? Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Because the package was in Sylph Trap, I think.
Yeah.
So that was after I had seen Losum.
No, package was in Last Arm. It's when you came back from the moon the first time. You came back with the magma key, but you had the package. I told you to check the package before going underground. Or you just, because you said, I want to check it for the character. I'm like, Miss Dragon could be there. So Miss Dragon was still at large.
Yeah. Because I remember when you did, because I think you were also, actually, Demi, you may have been our first player into Fey March, and we saw Miss there. It was one of your team members saw her, and I think...
That was me.
Yeah, okay. So I think you nearly started the fight, and then you were like, you know what? No, we're not dealing with that at this level.
I started the fight, Fusoya got punched for 1700 health, and I'm like, reset button.
Like, I'm good. I'm out. It's fine. We're good. I think that's the one interesting thing about the voice channel between Sylverfyre and I, is that for about 90% of the run, it is literally nonstop talking. And then when I get annoyed at Syl, it's about 10% quiet. And Syl is like, go bottom up in LST to start on my first dive, and I'm like, no. And Syl's like, yes. And I'm like, God, no.
To be fair, if you had run into Supi at Pale Dim Spot,
I would have been really annoyed also. I would have been really annoyed also, but I would have had Meteo, Fu, and Rydia, and I could have Bahamut bombed it.
You didn't have Meteo at that point.
Oh God, no, you're right. That was first tree check. Oh God, you're right. I didn't even have Quake. Ooh, yeah, I had no strat for that. I just gotten frustrated and reset. You're right.
Yeah, Scala did a great job of giving all a seed where, you like to go to the moon and think, oh, I know the techniques. I can get away with a lot of these bosses. And then no, it's Keitatsu, it's CPU, it's Wyvern, it's Ogres.
Wyvern.
Sonny, though, about to enter this fight. I would love to be able to dip into his and UA's voice chat just to hear his reaction to the sprite as well. Scala did excellent work with this one, I think.
Now, Sonny does have that adamant armor from the Pinktail. Actually, neither of you ended up going to Dwarf Castle.
Correct.
So
Dwarf Castle's a really low priority for us. It's 2 medium to slow boss fights for only 1 spot check.
Yeah, and the thing is, I had all my Foo bosses already down at that point, and I was on the overworld, so I prioritized music over Dwarf Castle for sure, because it's also a resettable location, really. It's not that bad.
was the possibility of a Cecil at all tempting? I think there was a Crystal Sword very early on.
At that point, I feel like the ship had sailed a little bit. Like I wasn't looking to replace anyone in my party, even though I was still rocking Sid.
Yeah, but Sid was rocking Artemis arrows, Artemis bows, Zeus Gauntlet power shirt, so who cares? like when I finished equipping and I looked at his attack power, it's like 138 or something. I'm like, Sid doesn't get into these numbers very often. I'm going to enjoy this one.
It did turn out to actually be Kane at Dwarf Castle, so if you did really want that Cecil, you would have had to fight an Ogopogo at CPU spot.
On the bright side, the Elements fight was only the Baron Guard, so that one was at least mostly free.
I mean, I got good use out of the Avenger and the Excalibur, I found. I didn't even dart the spoon on Zeromus because I forgot I had it until I darted the darted the defense sword and went, oh, there's a spoon down there. Oh, I already committed to the command. But you've got an end of a race to call. Of course, thank you for having us, as always.
Hey, thank y'all for racing. Congrats again on your victory. And hoping to see y'all. I believe there is some Final Fantasy 1 randomizer going on with you two later this week as well.
Yeah, that's tomorrow.
At 11 p.m.
Our last practice was separated by 1 second.
Like, we would literally have to retime it to be certain that she was 1 second ahead of me.
Which we're not going to do. We'll call it a draw, and we'll have it out tomorrow instead.
Should be an exciting race then.
Well, thank you both, and we'll see you both tomorrow night at least. GG's again. Sonny here, meanwhile, looking to be going with hybrid strats. Did see him throw some lines on those front row fighters before letting loose with the spells from the back row. So probably does not intend to skip the refill, but should be doing so much damage that he won't have to deal with too many late fight attacks from Discordmus. While it's wrapping up, Ploff, any more donations come in or other news?
We do not have any more donations, but coming up, we do have Sailor Moon Another Story with the good ending incentive met. After that, we have Darkened Sky, also with its donation incentive met. After that, we have Shining Force CD Book 1, as well as Shining Force The Legacy of Great Intention. They have donation incentives for their main character names, which have nothing donated to them. So if you want to name those characters, get something in.
UA, meanwhile, fulfilling his obligations to our wonderful donators who wanted those characters' names to be set up in a specific way. Doing a few more of those. Well, Sawneyrath has wrapped up his Zeromus fight. Official time of 2 hours, 10 minutes, 22 seconds. GG to Sawny. Just tackled the harder bosses in the bottom of the lunar subterrane and didn't pay off for him tonight. But great execution all around anyway.
GG to Sonny, and UA should be following shortly once he finishes his naming.
While we're kind of in between things here, I will briefly talk what we're raising money for. Here we are raising money to help the RPG Valkyries go to RPG Limit Break, which is a big RPG event coming up in the not too distant future. You can go ahead and use the !donate link in chat if you'd like to donate to us. If you donate, not only are you helping RPG speedruns, which you presumably like since you are watching, not only are you helping these amazing people go to an amazing event, not only are you going to be able to donate some amazing donation incentives coming up, but also, and this is very important, we will have more money. So think about it.
And UA has wrapped up renaming the characters, should be flying over to Troya soon and be ready to knock down that Zeromus fight.
They made a quick stop in Baron, just wants to make sure he has everything he needs for his final trip.
Oh, and of course,
webs there.
And of course, one of the things you can't leave home without, your actual crystal. If I go back and forth between flag sets too quickly, you will see me, one, go to Kakol with a Legend Sword and Adamant and try to make a crystal when he's not having it. Or you'll see me go to the Zeromus fight without actually having forged. Wait, what just happened there? Did he already have it and didn't realize? No, because Kakol was still in the bed. Did he not turn in the rat tail?
Probably, yeah. The other thing you always forget. You aren't being super careful.
Well, he has the levels, he has the loadout, he has the gear. It's just now all over but the shaken.
Yeah, so just going back to turning that rat tail. Then he'll be on his way. Do you remember what UA's party is at this point?
I mean, he has a Sid, he has a Fu, he has a Rydia. Or actually, no, he may be the one of our racers who doesn't have Rydia. You know, we were... Yeah, I'm honestly not positive. Okay, let's see if he hammers that R button while walking. Or are we just going to have Sid on the map?
I think he has 4 mages, if I remember, from the CPU fight a few minutes ago.
Gotcha.
So probably reflex strats from him. Sid by himself is not the strongest fighter. At least when it comes to the final fight. Does not scale as well as some of the others.
Does have great utility though. We mentioned earlier how with agility anchoring, if you make a really slow character your kind of fulcrum for your party, well, everyone else on your team can go as fast as Zeromus. Sid's a great candidate for this if you have a curse string, because even with the curse string knocking all his stats down, he's fantastic for throwing Cure 3s and Ether 2s and being a reflect target for those spells you want to bounce. So he has a great utility in a way that a lot of other characters don't. Other characters, if you throw the curse ring on them, you're going to be like, oh, I really want my DPS with this character. Sid, like you say, doesn't really get it going on that well anyway, so what are you missing out on? Not a lot. UA, gonna try to have a good time here. And again, for those of you who are wondering what we mean, we do talk about reflect strats and hybrid strats and mage strats. Kind of the main 3 ways to deal with the Zeromus fight. One is you have a team of burly bruisers. You have your Cecil, your Kane, your Edge, you have a high-leveled Yang, all with great weapons and great levels. You just drink Bacchus wine, you berserk them, and they do so much physical damage to Zeromus that you have very little to worry about. Another one is mage strats, commonly done with a refill skip, where if you do not do direct damage to Zeromus after he's taken 45,000 up until the 61,000 mark, you will clear the fight without having to do the entire second half of the script. Then hybrid strats are just kind of doing both, throwing out as much damage as you can any which way you can, and just trying to progress through those phases of the battle, of the script, without really giving Zeromus a chance to get his actions off then. So we do have a Yang, a Sid, and 3 mages. It will not surprise me to see probably some hybrid strats here. That Yang will be dishing out tons of physical damage at this level. Some say he's the second best character in the game.
I would tend to agree with that assessment. Even without equipment, he does a lot of damage. That's his main strength, really, is he's not reliant on finding good weapons. So just having high level is all he needs. Judging by those HP totals, it's pretty high levels on all the mages, probably mid to high 50s. So it should be pretty healthy here. Even tanking full strength big bangs will probably be okay.
Yeah, and it looks like his Palom is right about the HP where you would learn Nuke. Makes a good target for Starville here. We're going to see those hybrid strats coming in here. Nukes reflected onto the Zeromus, onto Discordmus itself, and then other utility with the front row fighters.
So tossing out the Silk Web there to slow down Zeromus a bit, and also serve the double purpose of triggering that counter nuke, which, as we mentioned, nerfs the following Big Bang, keeps him a bit safer.
Yeah, while an unnerfed Big Bang, depending on your place in the script, can do either a max of 2,400 or 2,700 damage, a properly nerfed Big Bang cannot do more than 1,200 on a maximum roll, before you even count, the fact that it could randomly roll less, you can evade, you have your magic defense, so it just guarantees that even your low HP mages here will survive the first one. And looking at the chat, Nitsky, if you're excited about this sprite, make sure you stick around after the race wraps up. Scala created, I believe, 4 custom-made sprites for this event for people to bid towards, and she is going to delight us with her handiwork after we have the other racers wrap up and interviewed. More reflected nukes. Thu running a little low on MP though. Going to have to settle for a virus here unless UA gets a chance to throw another Ether 2 or Elixir.
Honestly, sometimes the nukes aren't even worth it from Fusoya at this point, because he has lower magic stats. So his nukes, while they take just as long, those long animations will do quite a bit less damage than you'll probably see from Palom.
We do see another Zeromus Shake, indicating that another Big Bang may be on the way here. Of course, if UA can get enough damage in here to push it into Meteo phase, we'll just see rocks falling, which are a lot nicer to deal with. If not, this Bang will probably be knocking out at least the Palom, if not multiple characters. And you see the true power of the Big Bang. Roughly 2,000 per character. Can be very rough to deal with if you are not prepared. Of course, these racers have played this game a whole bunch at this point. They're familiar with it. They know how to recover. They know what to do when they see rocks falling.
Meteor coming there, signifying near the end of the fight. I think just about 10k left. So one more spell should do it.
Oh, and there is the Flash. UA has wrapped up his race with a 2:22.05 by the race bot time. Combined time 4:32.27. GG's to No King of the World. Again, they just went down a few wrong rabbit holes, fought some really hard bosses, and turns out that sometimes you got to take the easy way out. But we'll see if we can't get them in here for an interview shortly as well. And we are joined by No King in the World. GG, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
The Sony, that was so rough. You did some amazing work. You went for the harder bosses on the moon when you revisited that Odin fight, that Wyvern fight. You showed expertly how they could be done, but it was just not the right path to the pieces of the crystal tonight. But still beautifully executed, both of you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, when I saw Wyvern where it was, I had a feeling that there was going to be something behind it. Obviously, the Luka key, which we saw, though in the end that wasn't even necessary. CPU at Pale Den was the answer to get the Legend Sword through Rat Tail, and then Adamant being behind Twin Harp was definitely nice to find earlier on.
Yeah, but probably the most important part of the seed. You know, we didn't hear y'all in your voice chat during the race. How did each of you react when you saw the Scala Please spread of the night?
I put it in Discord what I thought. I was like, Scala, yeah, okay, indeed, Scala, please. That's pretty much what it is. Magnificent work on that Z sprite though. It looked really good.
It was very fitting, and I absolutely loved it. Scala, that was beautiful.
Yeah, because who better to do it than Scala Kitty herself, putting a immortalization of Discord, and Scala saying it would be great to have Discord as a Z sprite.
And now we officially have Discord as a Z sprite.
Well, thank you both. I'm glad you appreciated it.
It was definitely a good way to cap off the night of some definite frustration. So,
Indeed.
I'm glad. I'm glad you all got to have a little bit of fun with it.
of course.
Now, the Foo start was very interesting. Edward and Foo was an unexpected start. I don't think I've had that in quite a while.
UA, could you just do me a favor? Could you just hit your A button a couple of times to get us to the music?
Oh, sure. Sorry.
Thank you. Sorry.
No, I didn't realize you were. I figured you'd be on my audio, and I don't know why I wasn't hitting A. I guess I really like graham crackers. I like graham crackers. What can I say?
Who doesn't like graham crackers?
I mean, don't forget to eat your Gers or Grams.
Yes, that's
Shout
you
out
have
Savani.
and wash it down with a nice, burst energy drink. So,
Indeed.
Well, GG to both of you again, our restreamer and our host. Scala, I think you have a few more treats in store for us before we you call it the end.
1 second. I see we're dropping frames, so give me a second. I want to wait for those. I want to wait for those to pass. Twitch, please. Next zero straight. Twitch, please. All right, let's make sure that we're good. I think we're good now. I'm going to go ahead, switch on over. I'm going to let UA's music play out as I do this real fast. So, there we go. So, since you already all know this one, you already know our Discordmas. That was the winner for Scala Please. I'll go through very quickly, talk about what the other ones were. There we go. For Silly, I went with our 2v2 theme. I did Zorn and Thorn from Final Fantasy IX. This is them in their Pictologica sprites. So I thought that would be fun. For Sillier, actually, Invenerable, are you watching the stream right now so you can see these? Inven?
Sorry, I unmuted my mic, but did not unmute myself in Discord. Yes, I have it pulled up, and I'm looking at them right now.
Because I had
streaming away.
because Cillier I think was very much inspired by you and by one of your favorite Easter eggs in the game, and probably your favorite NPC in the game. It is the temp job dwarf.
Oh my gosh.
Because you know what? Why can't Temp Job Dwarf be a final boss? So if you are new to Free Enterprise and you don't know who this is, if you go down to Tomra to the treasury in the little back, there is one of the two dwarves. He has a different job every single seat. He might be a fire inspector. He might work in retail this week. He might be a teacher this time around. So go talk to him. But he's one of my favorite NPCs too, so I decided to immortalize him. And then finally, further silliness, which was the next one after Scalaplease I wanted to win. I thought a lot about who would be an excellent person to fight. And I think there could be no one any better than one of the great founding fathers of Final Fantasy and the director of this game, Hironobu Sakaguchi, as he canonically appears in Chrono Trigger, but maybe just a little bit enhanced to be the true, glorious pixel divinity that he actually is. So all four of these sprites will be rotated in the next time we do a Zeromus pool update. I am really glad that y'all in chat are enjoying this. And thank you all so much for all the support that we've had so far. And I am looking forward to see more of what this marathon has to come. We are going to be turning it over in just a bit to a new restreamer, so stream might go down. But I'm going to just put up over to the outro page, turn on some music for us, and hopefully we'll be getting you to Sailor Moon, another story, real quick. My thanks again to all of our runners, to sylverfyre, to Demerine, to Sawny, to UnknownAvailability. Thank you all so much for putting on a great show tonight. Thank you to Invenerable and Penguinator for being our amazing commentary team. And thank you to J Money Motos for doing the track. And thank you, Bluff, for being our lovely host. We had a wonderful team. It was super great to do it. Thank you all so much.